And the last one, obviously, is the National League West Division. This one is real easy for me because if this team does not win this division, it is going to go down as the biggest flop maybe in sports. The Los Angeles Dodgers, with the amount of money and talent they have invested into this team, there is nothing less that is expected than one winning the World Series at this point, but absolutely winning the division. And so I don't really think there's a whole lot to talk about there, but I do think that the wild card is really interesting in this division specifically. We have the Giants, D-backs, who went to the World Series last year, and the Padres, who I think are all in contention, except for the Colorado Rockies. They're not even going to be thought about at all. I do think the D-backs make a great push. Obviously went to the World Series last year. They have a young core. They added to their National League Championship squad Eduardo Rodriguez, Randall Grichuk, Jock Peterson. Notice a theme here, people. These are all veteran guys with all playoff experience here. I think their leadership is going to be instrumental for this team and maybe even bring back an old friend, D-backs. Trevor Bauer, adding that to your rotation. So threatening. Their rotation right now is Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, who are both studs, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Fight. I don't know how you say his last name, but he had an unbelievable playoff run, showed real good signs of greatness. And then you have Ryan Nelson, who's shown some flashes of pretty good stuff too. But you add Bauer to this, you're just talking about one of the best rotations in baseball here. So I'd be real scared. Padres gone backwards. There's some just real big internal issues there. Tatis not getting along with Manny Machado. Bob Melvin, who's an unbelievable manager, walks away only after a year and then goes to a division rival and managing the San Francisco Giants this year. A lot of problems there. Hot mess. I don't see them really doing anything there, but they still got a great squad. And then the Giants kind of always seem like they're just there. I don't really know what to expect from the Giants this year. I think they're an average ball club, but if they go on a run, would it shock me? No, but do I have them as any sort of threat at the start of this season? No.
Okay, so the NL West champ is 100% going to be the Dodgers. I don't think it's close. Matter of fact, I think they're going to win 120 games.
Wow.
And yes.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think they win 120 games. I'd be shocked. I'll be shocked if they don't. Having said that, they're dealing with some injuries. You don't know what Walker Buehler is going to return back to. So there are questions regarding the Dodgers that make me wonder if they're as good as what they are on paper. That's the only question I have, and we'll find out. And the reason why I think they win 120 games is because I think they absolutely roll through the NL Central. I'm not saying that's a bad division, but I just think they roll through a couple of these divisions to just get cupcake wins. I think the Padres are horrendous. It's just my opinion. I think the Padres are horrendous. I think
talent or internal?
Internal. I think they have the talent to do it, but it's been 2 or 3 years now that talent hasn't gotten anywhere. And you had Soto on that roster last year. Offensively, when you looked at that roster last year, it was made up to have success. It didn't. So whether you have internal problems or not, the on-field stuff's not working either. So I don't think I think they're on the same level as the Rockies, to be honest with you. I don't ever want to talk about the Padres because I think it's a disaster. And the fact that they didn't re-sign Snell blows my mind because I do think they need pitching help more than anything. But I just think they roll through the entire National League. And then when they go to interleague play, I think that's going to be funny too, especially if they play the AL Central because that division's ass as well.
No, you both bring up great points. And Houdini, you touched on one of them that I wanted to bring up was the win total that you guys were thinking for them, because I'm thinking they're going to be favored in basically every single game that they're going to play this year. So with that in mind, what, in your honest opinion, do you think 120, 130, what's the number that you think in your head? And then if they don't hit that absurd number that we're thinking 120, 130, automatically the season's, disappointing in a point of view. So I think that expectation of we're going to be favored in every game. We should win every game. We have the most talented roster in the world in any sport, in my opinion. The collection that they have is unbelievable. I think that starts to wear on him. Maybe at some point in the year. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know if it'll be the beginning, middle, end of the year, but that will come back to haunt him. It's a long season. Injuries pop up. Crazy stuff happens. That's why the NL West champion will be the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jedi, you touched on a lot of these players. I think you're stealing my notes again from last podcast. Zach Gallen, you got Merrill Kelly, Brandon Fad. They signed Eduardo Rodriguez, who was a pretty damn good last year. I think he was like sub-3 ERA in a resurgent year, so that's a good signing for him. Ketel Marte's a stud. They signed Eugenio. How do you say it? Suarez?
Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio Suarez, who absolutely mashes, and he's going to absolutely mash in Arizona. The ball flies out of that ballpark. And then Corbin Carroll. I think he has another huge year, and I picked him in a previous podcast as the possible NL MVP. I think he's going to have an MVP caliber type year.
Well, Vegas has the Dodgers over under at 103.5.
I'm shocked. I would have thought. I know that's still like starting at 100. I would have guessed 110.
And that's why, right? And
Vegas always knows, man.
And that's what I was going to say is like that 103.5. Clearly, there's some logic behind it on their end. They don't just put that line up there. So I do expect a lot of people to slam that over.
Well, and the public will be all over that, but the sharps are going to crush it. They're going to make up on that.
I if they go 102-60, don't be surprised. A lot of people are going to be
most in baseball, right?
Yeah, I believe it's the most in baseball. Like the Diamondbacks are 83.5. So, yeah. and that's with the assumption
500 right there. Yeah, one game.
Yeah, and that's with the assumption that they're going to get banged a little bit by the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be an interesting division, but obviously, I think the Diamondbacks are. I don't want to call them a dark horse or a sleeper because they got to the World Series last year, but we talked about it a long time ago. If they spent money, it was going to be dangerous. And them dudes spent money this winter.
They did. They went and did what they had to do. They obviously made it to the National League, had a little bit of a Cinderella run, some would say. And they expanded on it, which is nice to see. AKA the Marlins, when they make it to the World Series, they just absolutely dismantle anybody with talent on their team. They did it both times. So good for the D-backs too. So we're happy to see that definitely as baseball fans. But who do you think is going to win the National League West Division in the MLB in 2024? There's a lot of questions that we raised. What do you disagree with? What do you agree with us? Put it down in the comments. And who do you think is going to win that division? We want to hear from you. We'll give you a shout out next podcast on here.